Hello and welcome to the Sports Show with Bob Spino, where we are in the midst of the NFL playoffs of 2022, which after the first round, it wasn't too many impressive games except that Cowboys and Niners game. What say you, Bob? How you doing?
Well, you know what? I'm fine, Rob. How are you? I just
Not too good. Syracuse just got blown out by Duke, but that's besides the point.
Was it down there or was it in Syracuse?
It was in the Cameron.
Okay, well, they're tough there. You know what's funny though? The other night I was out, and when I was telling you just before we started about those kids watching the Nick game, the last thing I said before I left, Duke was playing Florida State, and I looked up and I went, Florida State's going to beat them, and the guy in front of me was like really rude. He just kind of looked back, and Florida State beat them by 1 point in overtime.
Well, hey, we ended Florida State's home ACC winning streak, so they came with a chip on their shoulder back north and took us out at the end.
Right. You know what? They're tough. They're not going to – I don't think they're going to win it all, though. I think it's up for grabs, really. No one's all that good.
Yeah, the ACC is only going to probably get about 5 teams this year, so Syracuse literally probably has a one-game cushion to lose. Right. Otherwise, they'll have to win the whole conference tournament, and that's a tall order. But forgetting the abysmal loss, what was your impression of the first round of the playoffs?
Well, I watched the show from last week, the end of it, where we made the picks. And you went 3-1 because you picked the cards, okay? And I went 4-0.
Correction, I hate to put my record down, but I only went 2-2. I believe I did pick the Cowboys to win.
Oh, you did. That's right. Oh, and I went, because you're right, because I said I'm leaning Dallas, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. I watched it. If there's an upset here, I think Frisco can take them out because Dallas is so up and down, and that's what happened. I go, it wouldn't shock me at all. That's what I said, and that's exactly what happened. But I'll tell you what, Rob. This week, I am picking Kansas City. That is the easiest pick over Buffalo. If I had $10,000, I'd bet it right. It's only a 1.5 point spread, Rob. It's like a pick'em game. Kansas City's going to mess them up. And this is where, I always call Allen a B. He can prove to me today that I was wrong and he's an A because he's playing an elite quarterback on the road. He's never been able to beat one.
That game is today, by the way, Bob?
It's actually, I said today, it's tomorrow. But whatever
Sunday
day it
the
is.
23rd.
But whatever day it is, it doesn't matter. He's never beaten an elite quarterback. And I don't think he's going to do it this time. But if he does, maybe I'll give him an A after tomorrow. We'll see. But right now, I still think Kansas City, it's 1.5 points, Rob. That is like, who set that? Who set that? Andy Reid set that line? Because, they're going to kill them. They're going to beat them by – you think the Bills or the Chiefs can't win by 3 points? Of course they, especially at home.
So what if the Bills bring the same level of play they had against the Patriots?
They won't, for a bunch of reasons. You can't go week to week in the NFL. 2, the game's on the road, and that is a biggie. 3, you're not playing New England, who was kind of like Pittsburgh last year, a pretender. You're playing against Kansas City, who just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So, no, it's going to be different, way different. So, like I tell people this all the time. The week before, the Bills played the Giants in the Super Bowl. The Bills played the Raiders to get into the Super Bowl and won the game 51-10. The Super Bowl, they couldn't even get 20 points. They lost 20-19. You can't go week to week. And I just think Kansas City is going to beat them. Even if Buffalo scores 21 or 24 points, Kansas City is going to score 38. That's what they're going to do. You just can't stop them.
Well, that was my concern for Buffalo, is that they're good. They make the playoffs. They're winning the AFC East division. It's just now they just have that big hurdle where there's the one or two few teams that's just that hump that they might not be able to get over to get to the Super Bowl and win. And you seem to be pretty confident that pretty much no chance for the Bills.
If I had $1 million, I'd bet it because I think I'd win it. That's
well, don't tell my friends from Buffalo because they're all excited and pumped up.
Well, the Bills are my close second favorite team. You know that, Rob. They're like 1 and 2. I like them both equally. So I'm just going to sit there and go, I'm not saying a word because Both teams are really, I like them both. So, but I just think the Bills aren't going to do it. I don't.
Well, no doubt that Kansas City is completely turned up a notch the second half of the season. So I don't think you can take anything from that early game that they both played against at all to throw that out the window, right?
Oh, absolutely. The Chiefs were not the same. I mean, one of the players, I just saw him on Twitter the other day, said, we're not the same team we were when we played them the first time. And they're not. Their defense is much better. And it's not even what Jones is their best player. There's another defensive player. I was reading his name the other day. He's having a Pro Bowl year for Kansas City. So no, they're it's not the same, and they're not going to fumble it away. And they're using multiple players on offense again. Mahomes is healthy now, and they have a new offensive line. And one of the reasons Kansas City faltered at the end too is last year as Mahomes got hurt. People forget that, and he's not hurt now, and they're just going to beat Allen and the guys. I know Buffalo. You know what? I wish the Herbmeister was here because you said he was going to come. Because I would have asked him.
Herbmeister was possibly going to show up today, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
But I wish he did because I would have asked him straight out. What do you think about all these people putting money down on the Bills? Because the point spread keeps dropping, and when you're home, you get a 3-point spread as a rule, as a favorite. This isn't even that. So that makes me think, a lot of people are, what I think it is? And I'm sure probably Herb will say, yeah. A lot of fans are done, see? And they really think it's the Bills' time. They've arrived. But they haven't because Mahomes is in the way. This is just like Patrick Ewing in the old days. He should have won a couple times, but Michael Jordan was in the way. Sometimes
there were a few teams that should have won a couple times, Bob.
But Michael Jordan was in the way. Right. But you know what? I could have said that about my Celtics in the 80s. They should have won the whole decade, but the Lakers were in the way. They would have, too. Even the Pistons wouldn't have stopped them. It's not how good you are. It's what decade or what generation you play in. Because if you got a superstar out there, stopping you from winning championships you should have won, there's really not much you can do. And the Bills are really, really good, but Mahomes is really, really better. And so is Kansas City. And they know it, And let me tell you, I was just watching a film clip about last year's playoff where I guess it was Hardman for Kansas City. He fumbled a punt. And he went and he sat on the sideline. And they actually had the mic on the sideline. And he put like a blanket over his head. And Mahomes went there and took the blanket off. He goes, come on. Don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. You're going to make a big play, later on in the game. Don't let it get to you. And sure as heck, later in the game, they ran an end around with him. He ran the ball 51 yards to help them win the game. Mahomes is a great leader, even on the bench, and no one's talking about that. Even in that Super Bowl, the Chiefs thought they lost to San Francisco. He went, we ain't done. And they just looked at him like, sure. Because Tariq Hill said, he looked at Mahomes and went, sure or not. That's what he's thinking to himself. Sure as heck, he goes, I believe in him. Once you get the army to believe in the general, there's no stopping you. And you know what? I just think they're going to beat them, Rob. I just do. He's the new Tom Brady Jr. I mean, he really is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Mahomes doesn't get enough credit for being that field general. They just focus on his athleticism and the wild plays, but no, he's running the show when he's out there. He's in complete command. And if he can rally the troops, the Chiefs are kind of an unstoppable force.
Yeah, I agree. Rob, what do you think why do you think it's such a low point spread?
I just think the Bills played out of otherworldly last week on both sides of the ball. I mean, they scored every possession. It was a perfect offensive game. They completely, the Patriots couldn't do anything offensively. And that's just, how could you, I don't think that should be dismissed. It doesn't mean they're going to win. I just think the Bills have a high ceiling if they're playing at that level, they could beat anybody. They could beat up anybody. But that needs to be consistent, especially in the playoffs. They need to bring that every week. And we haven't seen that with the Bills yet, ever, with Allen. So I think this is make or break time. Okay. Are the Bills a real contender, or are they just going to hit the brick wall of Mahomes every year? We're going to find out.
Right. And you know what? Sometimes, look, Allen could have had this game at home. Had he beaten Tennessee, had he beaten the Jags, they would have had the best record.
Or the first Patriots game.
Or
Yeah, the Bills had a lot of blunders this year. I mean, they're looking good. They finished strong and playing well now, but the whole picture, there was some just mind-boggling blunders.
Right. And they're their own worst enemy. They're the reason that this game's not in Buffalo. Like I said to Gab on Twitter, the only reason the Patriots were in the race for as long as they were is because Allen played like a bonehead. He played like a dummy. And he admitted after one game, I played like garbage. He said it to the press. So, I mean, I just don't think that they can beat Mahomes. He's too cool,
So if you're picking a score, what would you think? You believe Kansas City's going to win? What is your guess on the score?
Okay, 38-28, maybe.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm not kidding, Bob. I had the same score in my mind.
Yeah,
absolutely serious.
The Bills will score, but they'll score after the fact. Because that's what Pittsburgh did. Yeah, Pittsburgh got 21 points last week, but the Bills got 5 touchdowns in like 7 minutes. So, and then they made Kelsey throw the 6th touchdown. So, I mean, by then the game was over, so it didn't really matter.
All I know is if, and that's an if and when the Bills get that 10-point lead.
Yeah.
That's the fulcrum pivot point for the Chiefs. They just seem to rally and take over, and you have to extend that lead or you're done. And so if the Bills get a jump on them, they have to keep the pedal to the metal. That the stampede needs to keep going.
You know what, too? And people, I don't know anybody that says this or talk. If you watch sports long enough, any sport really, the team, especially like in baseball and football, if you don't score for a while, say like a baseball game, 6th inning, no score, or like last week's Chiefs game, it was almost halftime, it was no score. It was second quarter. Once one team scores, say, and Pittsburgh scored first, that automatically wakes up the better team. They scored 7 points, and the Chiefs like, oh, shoot, I didn't know we were playing today. We better get out there. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 it's 42 points they got. It's almost like a wake-up call. And people don't even, and this has been going on for years. I've noticed it years and years ago. Sometimes it takes one little thing. It's almost like, you know what Napoleon said about China? Let the bear sleep. Don't wake the bear. Don't wake them. Because back then they were ass backwards and they didn't bother nobody. They were isolated. Because, he was out there, invading every country, and somebody asked about China, he goes, no. Let them go. They're too big. But that's kind of like what it is, that, you poke him a little bit, the bear, like Pittsburgh did to Kansas City, and you woke him up. He's like, oh, okay, now we're going to get you. And they did. So they did.
So you're breaking Joseph Gilligan's heart, Bob. He's a Buffalo fan, just commented.
I love Buffalo.
Can you give them any shred of hope? Is there anything you could say that the Bills have a chance?
When the boat sinks, I hope you know how to swim. That's pretty much it. No, Kansas City's going to take them apart. They're just, especially there. Let me put it this way. How many times do you think you're going to go into Kansas City and beat them?
In the playoffs? They beat them? Very, very low probability.
Yeah, very low. Very low. But I mean, I just, and they're different now. They're playing better. You can see it. They're playing better. So I can't see it, Rob. I can't. And again, this to me, this is Josh Allen's biggest moment, because this is where you got to prove I can beat a great player, or I can beat a great team on the road. My argument, and no one can change this fact, you are not elite until you win tough road games. Allen has never done it. And I don't care how many Bills fans I come up against and yell at me, that is the one thing they can't answer, because they know it's right. He's never done it. And it's almost like the running quarterbacks. Don't give me this crap about running quarterbacks. They stink. Okay? They stink. The pocket quarterback wins the Super Bowls. It's like in baseball. Don't give me this crap about small ball. It's a joke. There's no such, in my mind, there's no such thing. You know why? Because the Yankees never played small ball, had all the money, and won all the titles. Do the math. 27. That's what they got. That's it. It's all about the money. It's all about doing the right things. It's all about being elite. And the money fuels that because you get the players that are elite.
Well, if Josh Allen is rocking a smile, you can feel good, Bills fans. If he's got the deer in the headlights look, you're screwed.
I've never seen him not have the deer in the headlights in a big game in my life, Rob. He always has that look like he's scared to death. I mean, no, I don't see it happening. And look, either way, I'm going to win in this game because I like both teams. And I've always did since I was little. I don't want to hear about the bandwagon crap. Len Dawson for the Chiefs, O.J. Simpson and Joe Ferguson and Joe Cribbs for the Bills. I remember them all. So don't give me that crap. And by the way, that team's the team. That Bills team should have won it all. The Joe Cribbs one with Joe Ferguson. They were great. That one year they had the best record. They should have won.
What happened? Who'd they lose to in the playoffs?
They ended up playing. What happened was they ended up going out to San Diego to play Danny Fouts. And Fouts was amazing. You know, you talk about these great quarterbacks, they totally forget about Fouts. That guy they used to call Don Coryell, their coach, Air Coryell, because he used to throw for like 4,000 yards a year. Back then there was less games. That was amazing. So we went there and the two Joes, Ferguson and Cribbs, the quarterback and running back, we had the number one defense in the league in 1981, Rob. They used to call us the Bermuda Triangle with Jim Hazard as the middle linebacker because the running backs would go in and never come out. That's what they used to say. And we beat in game 2 of that year, we beat Oakland Raiders 26-14. If we had beaten Chargers on that day, we would have played the next week at home against the Raiders in a rematch. We'd have killed them. The Raiders ended up becoming the first team that year to ever win a wild card and win the Super Bowl. They were the first ones. They beat the Eagles in the finals, in the Super Bowl. But that year, we're up 14-13 late in the game.
Who was the coach of the Eagles in that game?
Oh, no, the Chargers. Dick Vermeil.
Dick Vermeil,
who we had on our show. Dick Vermeil. And so what happened? Fouts goes back to pass. And I kid you not, Rob, even then, I'm sitting there going, he's been killing us the whole game, but he always makes one mistake. And the interception should come right up out, and he looks to the left, and he throws a sideline pass, and the Bills guy, Charlie Romes was his name, number 26, I'll never forget it. He jumped the route and intercepted the ball and was gone for 6, except for one thing. He didn't look the ball into his hands, went right through his hands and dropped it. The next pass, I leaned back and went, we lost, it's over. He's going to throw a bomb. He throws the ball 45 yards down the middle. The guy catches it. 2 plays later, touchdown, they win the game. I went outside. I was so mad, picked up snowballs. It was snowing that night. It was so cold. I was only 21 years old. I threw him against the tree, ended up getting the flu for a month. I couldn't get out of bed. I was so sick. But I went out without a coat on, just started chucking snowballs against the tree. I was so angry. And then what ended up happening was the next week, Oakland with Jim Plunkett as the quarterback went to the San Diego and beat the Chargers. They upset them. They go to the Super Bowl instead of us. We should have won that year. The Bills were the best team. I'm still mad. You talk about the 90s, them losing? People forget about 1981. Boy, was I mad, Rob. Oh, that team was so good.
It's just brutal when you have that super team and they're winning every game. And they don't even get to the title, and it's so heart-wrenching as a fan. Right. And that reminds me of the 2012 Syracuse basketball team. I mean, we only lost 3 games altogether, but we lost our center and we lost the Elite 8. Just excruciating to have that super team lose.
Right? No, it is, but they should have won it, and they were a great team that year. And I got to tell you, I loved Joe Cribbs and Joe Ferguson. I watched them in the early Super Bowl. One of the only Monday Night Football games that the Oakland Raiders have ever lost was to the Bills that night with Ferguson and Cribbs. I watched the game. My dad and I were eating pizza. I was a little kid. We were watching the game. I never forget it. And I love those guys, and I love that team. It's just a shame that they didn't win it. People forget about it. We talk about the Kelly Bills, but we totally forgot about those guys. And they were great, like totally great.
But here we are 41 years later, and
yeah.
We'll see what happens. But what do you think about the other game today? I think it's the Bengals and the
Bengals. Yeah, well, I'm rooting Bengals.
The other games today. The Bengals are playing the Titans, right? At the Titans.
Right. And I'm rooting Bengals, and I'm rooting for them hard because I want Tennessee out. So the winner of the Bills game goes to the Super Bowl. It'll be a lot easier. I think they both can beat the Titans anyway, but it'll be easier if they were out and they had to play Cincinnati.
But I do think like Tennessee because
no. I think Tennessee is going to win. My professional pick is Tennessee. So you put me. As a fan, I want to see Cincinnati upset them. But I think Tennessee.
Why do you want the Bengals to win?
Because the Bengals would then either have to go to Kansas City and the Chiefs will destroy them. It won't be 34-31 in Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. Or they'll go to Buffalo, and Buffalo would do to them what they did to New England last week. So either one of my teams would make the Super Bowl no matter what. And so that would make it easy. But if they have to go to Tennessee, it's going to be a lot harder because it's on the road. I hate to say this, Buffalo fans, but I think that Tannehill is more clutch than our good friend Josh Allen.
Not so fast, my friend. I don't know about that. What has Tannehill won?
He's more clutch. He's played bigger games and won bigger games. It wasn't because of him that you didn't win in Miami. It was a lot of reasons. You didn't have a great running back to speak of.
It was also because of him we didn't win, for sure.
Well, you know what, though? I understand he was up and down a lot with you guys, but you guys weren't the best team overall the years he was there. So, but I do think this is the number one seed. And he's out of Miami. That curse is kind of lifted for whatever reason.
I don't know what curse you speak of.
Yeah, but where
not playing in the Orange Bowl curse? Yeah, that one.
That one, yeah. But no, like I think in a lot of ways that he's more mature and he's been to the big games. He's
seasoned, no doubt about it. He's seasoned, but I wouldn't go so far to call him clutch. He hasn't made the Super Bowl.
Allen's never won a big game. He's won big games. He's lost them too,
but he's played a lot longer too.
Yes, I know, but I'll tell you what, Rob.
They have the best running back in the country, and they're just an overall good.
I think Tannehill's smarter than Allen. I don't think Allen's a very smart guy, and that has a lot to do with it when you're under pressure. You got to think your way out of it. So, I think Tennessee will win that game. I hope they do not, but
I agree. I think Tennessee will win. What as well? What's your prediction for the score for the Bengals and the?
Well, the Bengals can put points up, but they're on the road, and Tennessee has a good day too. They're pretty underrated. Let me say, maybe 28-21.
So a little closer than that's not a blowout.
No, well, since he's a pretty good team, you know what? It could be 31-21. I'll give it 10, Well, since he's a good team, don't underestimate them, but they're not great. They had to hold on to beat the Raiders. The Raiders were driving for the game tying touchdown at the end of the game. So, and this one's on the road, and Tennessee's much better than the Raiders. So,
Tennessee's really good at home. So I agree. I think probably 2-possession win for the Titans.